Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Universal Lens. I am your co host, John Emilio.
And for those that don't know, I am the other guy. Nah, I'm Henry Beltro. Nice to be with you again, John.
Anytime, my man. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Oh, just looking at our notes here. We usually, sometimes we come into these shows, like we said last time, super prepared. Other times we just say, screw it, and we're going to wing it today.
Yeah, we're good riffers.
We're good riffers.
We're good riffers. This is what we do. I was telling you before. You ever put a Cuban guy and Italian guy
Excuse me.
together over a cup of espresso or a cigar, and you really think it's going to be a boring one?
Yeah, that's how this all came to be. That's how this all came to be, by doing that, by putting a Cuban guy, Italian guy, cigars, and some coffee, which I always have with me. Thank you. With our original name on it. This was a Christmas gift for my kids. I told them already. I said, well, unfortunately, you're gonna have to get me a new one for Christmas because that name has been replaced by the Universal Lens.
Was that if you know, you know, right? Oh, geez, if you know, you know.
What do you mean? If you know, you know.
Yeah, what they say, like IFYKYK. If you know, you know, means if you know what just be means, you're OG. You know,
Bro, you're like,
that's all.
I'm old.
That's all. You know what happens is these lights are burning my skull, and
Yeah.
you can see my shininess. I just came out of makeup just a few minutes ago.
You have makeup? You must have a different budget than I do because my
Well,
budget doesn't.
I came out of makeup. The producers tell me where to go, what to do, and
Mine doesn't have. Unfortunately, mine doesn't have. My budget doesn't have makeup on it. Oh my
it
god.
doesn't.
No. I wish it did, but it doesn't. That's maybe because we don't have a budget yet.
I got to reinvest the royalty checks I'm getting then.
Again with the royalty checks.
I don't know. I thought you were getting.
I've always said you're the talent on the show.
Oh yeah, I'm talented. Yeah.
You're the talent on the show. I'm
No.
just along for the ride.
Trust me, you're the talent.
Yeah.
Because if I'm the talent, it's
So,
over.
what are we gonna riff about? I keep looking up and I got to stop because we're actually in the same room today, so it's kind of odd that we're doing it live like this. But so my eyes just keep pulling up to look at Henry across from me, so I'm going to stay focused and look at his face on my screen. All right. So what are we gonna riff about today, Mr. Beltra? Any ideas? Or I got listen, there's always something we could talk about. Sometimes there's things that just kind of stick out and pop out. Other times there's not. Last week with our last episode we were touching on a few different things, right? With the conscious mind and
Yep.
and what was that? What was the clip from episode 31 that I posted, which was yesterday? There was a clip of the show that I posted, and a lot of people actually kind of liked it. But I can't remember which clip it was.
You were talking about being let's say, not lead from consciousness, but be a boss from consciousness.
Well, no, I think the clip that I played. Did you see it? It was it was posted to like Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff. It was that was the show was about that about using the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. That's what we were talking about during the show, right? Is making decisions. If you make decisions with a conscious mind,
Yeah.
as opposed to making decisions from an unconscious mind, that you won't have that. I think that's what I said in the script about it, in the little the verbiage that you put at the bottom of it describing the clip was the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. And when you make decisions from the conscious mind, you tend not to get stuck in that rumination afterwards, as opposed to when you make decisions from your unconscious mind, where that kind of leads to that kind of behavior afterwards. Why can't I remember which clip it was?
Doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. No, but it's annoying the crap out of me now. And
welcome to 40. Welcome
I'm
to 40.
actually gonna freaking look it up because I want to see what
John,
the hell.
We're old, bro. This doesn't work the same way, man.
Yeah, okay, now. Yeah. This is when I said don't take the phone call if you don't have to take the phone call, right? That we were
Yeah,
talking about. I don't know why I blanked on that. We were talking about kind of rushing through your day,
yeah,
right? And when you're doing that, you tend to make those decisions from like what I like to call like that unconscious mind, where it's just automatic behavior, automatic.
yes. And during the conversation was some of that where I was doing these tasks that were just, I mean, they weren't even, let's say, scheduled or important, and there I am just doing tasks, and that's kind of what you were talking about, during
Yeah,
the
and
episode.
that clip, that was the point I was trying to make, which was kind of the gist of last week's show. So you know what? I mean, I had some notes here. So I mean, I think we could kind of parlay into that this week because we kind of touched on it a little bit, talking about like a little bit about business and then like personal, but like what is the conditioned mind? What is the conscious mind, and what is the unconscious mind? So the
This is good.
unconscious mind would
This is
be.
good. This is good. What you're gonna say right here is very good. I just want to say something real quick.
I didn't say it yet, but how
I,
do you know
but
it's good?
but the
But how do you know
difference
it's
between
good?
this conscious mind and unconscious mind. So remember last time we spoke, I was in Chicago.
Yeah.
While in Chicago, one of the girls that works with us, going through some stuff and just sharing it with me, and then I told her about the show, and
Mhm.
she's like all in, like, so I think she's watching.
That's
And
great. Hello.
Monse, I hope you're watching. I hope you're getting the fruits of our labor here, and you're about to see what I was talking about, where uh, your mind is telling you to do something or think a certain way, and in reality, there's somebody behind that who can say to that mind, well, kind of like I was saying, where your mind has a channel changer, a remote control. It puts on channel 12 and says, "You're going to watch channel 12," and then you're like, "No, I'm going to watch channel 4." You know, that kind of situation.
Yes.
So you're about to go into. Sorry, just giving you a
What was
little
I going to talk
preamble.
about again?
Uh, yeah.
What was I talking about
the
again?
the conscious and unconscious.
Yeah. So the unconscious mind, well, and that was what we were talking about. How you kind of going through your day, doing those things automatically without even realizing that you were doing them. But like to really dig a little bit deeper into making people understand what the conscious mind is. So when it's been said by other spiritual teachers and people, you know, way ahead of me, when they say things like the conscious mind, it's where you are. This is going to sound kind of weird and stupid, but you're consciously aware of the decisions you're making, not just kind of automatically following patterns and behaviors that have been there for years, but there's a higher level that kind of sinks in, and with this presence behind it, understands the decision that you're making. So, like the unconscious mind would be like with things that you were doing before, when you said like you want to do this, but instead you do that. So here's a great example. I was listening to a podcast and I forgot the name. It was I think Men on Mindfulness. It was pretty good. I found them
Oh,
today and I was kind of listening to them, and they spoke about one thing, and they speak about a lot of different things, but I think today they touched on the one I listened to today. They touched on fear, right? And the decision making, that the decisions that you make when you're in a moment of experiencing fear, not danger, fear. And we know what fear is, right? Fear is a emotion of what might happen in the future. It's not actually happening. You're projecting what might happen, and it brings up this emotion of fear. Again, we're not talking about danger where somebody's pointing a gun at you and you're in a moment of crisis. We're talking about mental ruminating fear. It's this fear that I might get this, fear that this might happen to me, fear that that might happen. So they were talking about different scenarios. One guy's an ex-Navy SEAL. EXO was a pretty good show. One guy was an ex-Navy SEAL, and they were talking about different scenarios where how in the moment when they had to do something, there was this moment of fear that did they make that choice or were they too scared or fearful of. One guy was talking about how he might get rejected by the girl he exed out, which ended up being his wife. Like he goes, if I didn't take that step to make that choice, conscious choice to follow that, what I wanted to do, I would have never asked her out. We would have never got married because the fear of her rejecting me might have stopped me from doing it. And I was like,
correct.
wow, this is a great topic because not when a lot of people talk about fear, they say overcome your fears. And yes, to a certain extent, but until you understand where those fears are coming from. And I'm not talking about childhood or what happened to you in the past. Let's dive into all that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about until you understand that the fears they come from your unconscious mind, which are kind of these behaviors and these neural pathways that have been formed over years, right? Because of what's happened to you in your past, the way you were brought up, things that were told to you when you were younger, and these neural pathways kind of form. Automatically, the unconscious mind, here comes a trigger, here comes a thought, right? No, John, you can't do that. Don't jump off we're gonna go high diving off this 20-foot cliff, right? It's safe. There's lifeguards. There's people there. You're not doing something like jumping into waters you don't know. So there's a controlled aspect to this, right? So we're not telling you to do something dangerous, but you have this fear. But what if I do this? And what if that happens? What if I hit the water too hard? What if I get a cramp? What if? And maybe you don't take that jump. Dumb it down to the guy who says, "I want to ask this girl out," and he doesn't ask the girl out. If we always listen to that unconditioned mind and don't go against the grain and be like, hey, I'm going to ask this girl out because I have a fear of rejection. Well, that fear of rejection is just a automatic thought process that's coming up. Because even if I do get rejected, it's again a judgment of it's a judgment that you're giving yourself. There's actually nothing's happening to you. So if the girl says no, she says no. But if she says yes, she says yes. For that guy, like he asked out, she ended up going out with him. They got married. It was great. One of the other ones that they were telling a story about during Navy SEAL training. One of the girl, there's something test you have to do at the end where you have to jump off this 10-meter board or into the water, and you have to do it or you can't graduate, no matter how far you came. This is the list. And there was a person who didn't do it because of their fear of jumping off of these heights, made them freeze. And they lost out on an opportunity because they were listening to this unconditioned, unconscious thought pattern of what might happen if they do this, right? But you could plug that into anything. So you could use the extreme of skydiving. You could use something like making a phone call to somebody or public speaking, or pick one of 1,000 things. But fear is a great example of unconscious thinking because, again, we're talking about fear, not danger, right? Danger is a different thing. Danger is actually when you're in a situation where something might happen to you right there and then. There's an actual danger to you. We're talking about a fear, whereas this make-believe story that comes up and says, John, you can't do that. What if she says no? Well, we've used the example, when you were kids, like picking up the phone, dialing 4 digits, hanging it up because you want to call a girl. 2 hours go by. You wasted 2 hours of your life and you don't make the phone call because the fear that the person in line is going to say, no, I'm really not interested. Thank you. The thing is that creates a habit of always answering that fear with that same response. So like with OCD and anxiety, for me, the experiences, fear is a major trigger. The fear something may happen, the fear this may happen, and you go against the grain is where you start to make choices from a higher thinking. And when I say higher thinking, I mean it's not an emotional response from this part of your brain that's been conditioned to unconsciously think this way in hopes of, ready, if you're watching online, air quotes, protect you. It's trying to protect you, your brain. But how much of that protection actually holds you back from actually experiencing life, right? But again, there's a difference between fear and danger. So I think that's a great example of how the unconscious mind, if left to its own, what's the word I'm looking for? Its own devices, will keep you protected but trapped at the same time. Now, I'm not saying be careless, right? Go running around with your hair on fire like an animal. We're saying like those things that you want to do and you want to try them and experiencing them, but your mind holds you back because of fear of what might happen. Well, that's that unconscious mind that's saying, well, oh, bad, or danger, don't do this. Mommy said this, daddy said this when we were younger, whatever experiences you might have had, and they hold you back from trying things in life where you might overcome or eventually surpass some of these or bypass, I should say, some of these neural pathways that have been formed and start to form new ones that kind of don't automatically go there when there's a situation that's not dangerous, but you get these fears of, like I said, you could be public speaking in front of a crowd, making a podcast, writing a book, right? These are things that I was like, who the hell wants to hear from me? I'm a schmo from Brooklyn. Does anybody really want to hear what I have to say about this?
If you heard you, yes, you would. If you heard you, yes. But
Yeah.
fear is fear, in my humble opinion, fear is just another one of these feelings, another one of these
Sure.
emotions.
Agreed.
However, fear is special in the sense fear, I would say, is one of the most potent emotions, or one of the most potent feelings, because I'll give you a quick example. So everything we talk about is the ability to, let's say, think with a more conscious mind, as opposed to
Sure.
let your knee-jerk hardwire, and I'm also using air quotes, your knee-jerk hardwire, right?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
hardwired a certain way, or I'm using the word hardwired,
Yeah,
such
man.
as what
Sure.
your examples from before, where you have what do you call this, input data,
Yeah.
knee-jerk reaction, right?
Sure.
Unconscious.
Exactly what it is.
So input data, enter consciousness, new reaction, which is not even a reaction, response.
I love that.
Daniel-san, Papa
Yes, I
san,
forgot what chapter that is in the book. Very good. Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Papa san.
That's a great explanation. That's a great explanation.
But let me explain something about fear.
Sure.
So you basically live with me. You understand? I also, by the way, and I think you do too, and I think every other human being, we trip over our own hardwiring, every so
Sure.
often. And fear is important because I'm going to harken back. Yes, I said harken again. I harken back to the great wise Scott Adams, who knows a thing or two about a thing or two. And he says, so being a hypnotist and being let's say a professional persuader, says fear is the number one way to persuade people. It's the number one emotion that you touch on to persuade people, because it happens to be like the strongest, let's say, driver. So in the case, he talks about politics a lot, but he talks about the fear aspect in terms of how to persuade people. So if you're a politician, you have to stand up in front of a lot of people and persuade them your way.
Sure.
And so fear, when you speak to the masses, is a great way to have them look for you for leadership, look to you for guidance. So I'm sharing this as just to basically like hammer down how big and how important fear is as an emotion. So politicians know it. Professional persuaders know it. If you are part of the masses,
They can prey on it.
Exactly. And that's kind of, our show is perfect for this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our show is perfect for a shield, some sort of a little barrier between whoever's trying to kind of move you in a certain direction unconsciously. And sometimes you don't even know it. Like, you're just receiving the input, the data, and you're like,
yeah, no, if you're a person who constantly answers that unconscious mind, you'll be an easier prey for not just your own thinking, if you're off your own thinking devices about fear, but you're a prey for other people who, unfortunately, that's their bread and butter. Is they pick out is they prey on these fears that people have, and with certain verbiage and the way they put everything together, they kind of angle it right towards that and hit that nail on the head and get that reaction out of people to sway a certain way. I mean, that's been since. I mean, I think since the days of intelligent man walking upright, that's been a tactic of people, unfortunately.
Yeah, and by the way, the persuasion aspect can be used for good as well as for bad. So we talk about politicians, but literally It's a very good technique also for doctors if you're trying to connect with a patient
Sure,
that
you can use, but now they're not using it to prey on the person. They're actually using
correct,
it to,
correct, correct.
so they're using it to expose the fear, show the person the fear, and it's irrational. So that's basically what happens in psychotherapy when you're talking about somebody who's dealing with. I always use my own experiences, obsessive compulsive disorder, or anxieties, or any kind of anxiety. They expose that fear to show you the irrational thinking behind it, to how you create a story from this little. And I think OCD and anxiety are a little bit different from your, not to say normal, but your everyday, just run of the mill fears that people have, like we said before, public speaking or things like that, or talking to somebody or putting themselves out there. Though, so the OCD and the anxiety fears are a little bit more charged because they take different themes on, more personal themes, and things that are a little bit more graphic and just end of the world kind of stuff. But it's still the same thing. So psychotherapists would do that. They will, a good therapist will expose that fear, not to trigger the person or to trigger them in a positive way, to show them,
Yeah,
here's the fear, let's go against the grain with it, right? So it's that same basis that's used in therapy, that's used, they use that, the mentality is the same. So the way a doctor might use it positively, or a therapist uses it the right way, unfortunately you have the other side of it where people are going to prey on people's fears also. So the best, like you said 2 minutes ago, the best shield that we could give you is the shield of awareness, and to realize when to, well, or to always have that awareness, so you know when the unconscious mind is steering the ship, or when the conscious mind is steering the ship.
yeah. I would say it's a little IQ booster as well. I hate to, no offense to anybody, but it's a little IQ booster in the sense
Sure, it is.
if you have this process, right? If you have this conscious mind process, you know, it really helps you separate what could be, let's say, true, what could be false, because we're constantly fooling ourselves. You know what I mean? We're constantly fooling ourselves. So this is a very good filter, if you will. It's a very good filter for to process, whether or not something is real, fake, or you know, uh, like we always talk about being attached to emotions, and fear is such a big one, and it's such a disturbing one. Like
Sure.
when you experience fear, you don't like it. You know what I mean? You don't
No.
like it. But if you're somebody who experiences fear often, and you find yourself not having experienced fear in the last 2 hours, you go looking for it. You
Sure.
know, because there's something going on. There's something. I'm afraid of what I'm not afraid. Oh wait, yeah, I'm afraid of what I don't know. I'm afraid of. It's it's like any other emotion. Like if I don't know, if you're a busybody, you know, you're looking for things to do. You ever find that if you're a busybody, and all of a sudden you finished all your tasks, it's like the minutes go by slow now, and there's something wrong. Something is up here. I think with fear, it's kind of like the same thing. So if you're hardwired
To
to
look
be
for it. Yeah.
fearful, which not that I'm fearful, but there's a lot of fear in my ruminations, in my
Well,
you
that's
know,
that's. I think that's all tied into an anxious mind tends to tread more that way than a mind that's not as anxious. But again, this is, so we use examples on this show, like we say every week, right? It's always full circle, but we use examples to show and to try to depict and try to paint the picture of how the mind can, or situations in life or whatever it might be, but how the mind interprets things. And if there's no base level, even a base level of awareness, how it will take control and drive the ship for you. And you won't even, and you'll think, well, my mind's keeping me safe. My mind's keeping me safe. My mind's keeping me safe. And yes, your mind is trying to keep you safe. It's absolutely 1000% doing that. But at what cost? At what cost are these fears pigeonholing you and not allowing you to live life? And again, we always preface it, we're talking about fear, not danger, right? We're talking about ruminating mental fears, not physical, dangerous things that might be happening. We're talking about ruminating mental fears that stop you from doing things you want to do, that stop you from going to get that job, from, you know what, I don't want to be that. I'm scared if I become too successful, like people are gonna start writing about me and wanting to talk to me and interview me, and I don't want people to know my life, and I don't want to be on the front page of some stupid article or newspaper. Like,
And they want my
and your mind
autograph.
creates stories to all these things why you shouldn't want to be there. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
No, it's a joke. I said they want my autograph.
And they want your autograph. Yeah, so it could be anything. But if the mind left without any awareness, these are the rabbit holes that you're going to fall into. And I think that's why when I heard these guys talking about this, I'm like, that is a great topic to speak about, because fear is at the base of anxiety, but fear is also even more so a great example of how the unconscious mind tends to want to just take over and run around it. And if you have that conscious higher level thinking, it will allow you to see past that and do things that you value and you care about. And you say, you know what, but I want to do this. I want to do this podcast. I want to write this book. And if people don't like it, okay, but I'm not going to let that fear of people not liking it stop me from trying to accomplish something I want to accomplish in life that I value and I care about. And plug whatever you want. That's my example, but plug whatever you want to plug in there. It's nice to know. Look, everybody wants that success at the end of whatever they're trying to accomplish in life. It's human nature. Of course, we want to be successful. I'm not even saying successful financially. I'm saying just successful in general. Like, you want to do something and you hope it works out for the best, right? You want to write a book, you hope it does well. You want to do a podcast, you hope people listen. But if people don't listen, I'm not going to allow that to say, well, I'm never going to try anything like this again. No, because then you've given into that old unconscious thinking, and it's now in control. And you're ignoring that higher level of thinking that says, but there's so much more to life that you could be experiencing. Why do you listen to? We get it, that it's there for a reason, and it's there to protect you. But like we said before, we've evolved to things in life where a lot of the dangers aren't there anymore. So the mind looks for new dangers, and it picks on your economic status, your social status, your looks, your intelligence, everything. And it uses those as, oh, okay, well, Henry, we got to protect you from sounding like an idiot. John, we got to stop you from sounding like, a fucking moron. And that's what it's going to do. And it will stop you from saying, oh, I don't want people to hear me speak, and I don't want people to hear this, and I don't want to see that, and I don't want to see my face on a YouTube channel. But then how many things are you stopping yourself from saying? But if I asked you the question, I said, Henry, but do you want to do that? Henry, would you want to do a podcast deep in your heart? And Henry goes, yeah. So fucking why aren't you doing it? Well, because I don't look like an idiot. So because your unconscious mind is telling you that you might look like an idiot, and by the way, you think you might look like an idiot. This isn't like fact.
It's only in your mind.
You're not gonna try to do something that you wanted to experience, and that's where you lose. That's where you lose out on the experience of life by giving into those fears. That's why I just thought fear was a great, kind of a great example.
It is good, and I just want to say, it's tough. Like, sometimes it's tough formulating it into words, but I think I need to say this, that
Sure.
we're throughout the process of learning, let's say, mindfulness, presence, consciousness, you still have pitfalls. You still trip up. But once it's like you said it, we've said it in the past. Once you have this skill, it's like you don't lose it. It's like riding a bike. You might get rusty, but you always know how to ride a bike. It's just, we're human, and you gotta be able to. I mean, look who's talking. You know how many times I approach you with my craziness, but we gotta be able to give ourselves some slack in the sense. Don't be so harsh on yourself if every single time
Self
you
compassion,
weren't able you weren't able to stop that fearful thought. You know,
self compassion.
if in my opinion, again, I have zero professional degree to tell you anything, but instinct tells me if I treat myself or if I'm going to judge myself this harshly on whether or not I apply my universal lens to every situation, like that's not the point of using it. It's like you've completely bastardized the entire
Sure.
experience. So I say that because I would imagine a lot of people that listen are like me, where I have a little feeling, and I keep a good face about it, but yeah, I am struggling inside, and this is perfect for these kinds of people. And so for that one young lady who I hope is watching, and hope she hasn't tuned out till now, there's experiences in her life where she has to deal with nobody knows her, so she has to deal with an ex, right? An ex partner. That's very contentious. But if she had this filter, this lens she can apply, it really would help her in a lot of the cases.
Yeah, I
And
think
again, it's going to help her in a lot of all the cases. But
I think they go for a lot of people, for most of the listening audience, right?
I think I needed to say that because it's like I fall prey to it myself, where I would slip up and do a
Self
little rumination and
Yeah, well, that's where self compassion comes into play, right? So it's not about stopping the fearful thought from being there. So the unconscious mind is going to spit that fearful thought out. It's not that it's not going to, it's going to spit that fearful thought out. But am I going to listen to this fearful thought? Am I going to allow this fearful thought to rule the roost, to rule my life, to be the judge and the jury? Or am I going to watch it for what it is, let it sit there for a few seconds, and then follow the things that I want to follow and I want to do in life that I value. So I always tell people, what I love to say to somebody is when somebody's kind of stuck, I say, all right, I said, make believe you could make the choice. If I can make believe right now that nothing bad would happen, the outcome would be what you want, right? You would get the outcome that you want. Would you choose this or that? And most people, everybody's going to give you, well, this is what I want to do. So then why not choose that? I get it. Certain things are parameters, but I'm saying like in making a choice where you want to do something, but that fear is holding you back. Whether it's leaving somebody who's somebody you're with in a relationship that the spark isn't there, or the chemistry isn't there, the connection isn't there. You're in two different places. You're in one place looking for something, but the fear of being alone says, well, I'd rather be with somebody than nobody. But then you ask that person, do you want to be in this relationship? It's not that I don't want to. But that's not a yes. So you don't, but the fear of being alone keeps you here. The fear of quitting your job and trying to do something else keeps you at that old job. Now, again, parameters, right? I need to feed my family. So yes, you don't just sometimes quit your job and leave but if left unchecked, look what it could do, right? So we go from a relationship, you could go to a job, you could go to anything. That fear will keep you there, but it's not the thought itself that's the problem. It's your reaction to it. It's your, again, right? Look, I mean, I know we sound like broken records, but really, this is exactly what the book was about. This is exactly what we always talk about, and this is how it all works. The reaction to that thought. Now, we're just using fear this week as an example. This is episode 32. 32. So we've used 31 other examples. Holy shit. 31 other examples already of how, if left to its own devices, like the mind can and will hold you back. So it's not the thought of the fearful thought, like you just said, right? And having self-compassion that if you fall prey to it, don't beat yourself up and say, oh, got the best of me. I'm an idiot. No, you move on
Yeah.
and you say, I try again and I try again. And eventually, if you try enough times, you start to create new little roads around that one major highway that you had that always came up with these fearful thoughts. And all of a sudden, these
Yeah.
branches, these multiverses of universes start to form around that one, right, and run parallel to it. But there are different possible outcomes now that you start to realize can happen if you choose these things. So, no, it was a good example. Self compassion is also huge there. You can't if you don't have it, you'll stay stuck. It's saying, yeah, I made the wrong decision. Now we move forward. Not I made the wrong decision and oh, this is the worst. This sucks. And the self pity because all that does is it reinforces. You see, John, you shouldn't have done that. Let's just stay in our lane and we'll be good. Then you're gonna be living life in one lane. I don't know. I'm more of a highway guy. I like full wide going. Having the slow lane when I want it, the passing lane when I need it. If I just want to cruise, I stay in the middle.
Yeah, but I think that attitude took some time. I don't know if you were like that always. You developed into that.
Yeah, no. I'm not insinuating that like you get this right away.
No,
if you
no,
don't start.
Right, that's the point.
Yeah,
That's the point. That you got to start somewhere, and then the first day you're 1%. The next day you're 2 or 3, and as you go, I don't think you ever reach 100. That would be.
It's not about being perfect or reaching 100%.
But we're humans, and we're constantly doing that to ourselves.
So stop.
But once you have the skill, you'll be, I don't know, tenfold better. Not perfect, but tenfold better.
There's an airness all of a sudden to the way you look at things. It's understanding that fearful thought isn't fact, isn't the way it has to be. It's just a thought. You still get to choose how you want to live your life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, within reason, of course.
Oh, yeah, but again, there's really we don't want to put too many roadblocks in front of it either. Within reason, because that's the mind just saying again.
Correct.
Okay,
correct.
Well, easy. I get it. Listen, and that's where an intelligent mind and a conscious mind, a higher thinking mind, could look at that and realize and consciously weigh, right, the pros and cons of something. Let's just say if you had to make a decision, like if you had to make a big decision, like leaving my job and you have 2 kids and a wife at home. Okay, pros and cons, right? There is the inherent fear of leaving your job and not surviving and being thrown out of your house and not feed your family. All right, but that's a real world fear. That's not I'm going to get rejected. Somebody's going to think I'm an idiot. I'm going to sound stupid. So there's a little bit of difference there, right? And I'm assuming, and maybe I shouldn't, that the people listening kind of understand that we're not talking about, I got a fear of jumping out of a plane, so I should just go tomorrow and jump out of a plane. Listen, if you want to go to a skydiving school and go for it, I guess. I mean, I don't know, but we're not talking about doing something off the cuff crazy. We're talking about the daily decisions that we make where that fear holds you back, just holds you back enough. Yes. And like you said before, I was a poster child for this 6, 7, 8 years, like a poster child, like stay in my lane and leave me, like cruise control left. I don't put me on a country road, leave me alone. Like I don't I want to be in this lane. And my mind says we're good here and I'm going to be good here until I die. And I was missing out on so many things that I wanted to kind of do. And I never did because I was scared who might say what, who might think this, who might think that. But then how does my experience of life get dimmed down by that? Sure, it does. It gets dimmed, it gets turned down and dimmed immensely. So you start realizing who's actually making the decisions, that unconscious mind or that conscious mind.
Yeah. I've told my son. Actually, I told probably all my kids at some point, but my oldest son's been through some stuff in his life, some trials and tribulations, right? Some adversity.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, we always have Yankee candles all around the house. And I said, see that flame? Right now, your flame is out. And we need to reignite it and make sure nobody ever blows that flame out. That flame stays on, meaning yourself.
Sure.
That happy that content.
Listen,
Yeah.
well, you have to use the words. We have to
Yeah,
use the words. We do have to
but
use the words. I know I bust your chops about it sometimes,
no,
but
no,
it's
but
more tongue in cheek than anything else. Yeah.
yeah, it's that's, let's say, that content feeling about yourself with yourself. That's important. It's important because that's kind of the whole purpose,
So
right?
I have a question. Do you believe that somebody could blow your flame out?
As a human.
Well, what do you mean? Like somebody could snuff you out? I'm not talking about that. Yes.
No. I meaning, as a human, yes, I believe it. Like, at any one moment, somebody can do something, or
But how are they going to snuff? Only you could snuff your light out.
correct.
You can't put it out. Somebody could do something to you that could affect your life, I guess. Sure, right? People do
Correct.
that every day of our lives. They do things that affect us.
Correct.
But your light, your candle, this is how I'm interpreting it. And tell me if I'm wrong, maybe. Your candle that you're speaking about to your son is his light of consciousness, is his inner mentor, his self-compassion, his, like, nobody could take that away from you no matter what happens in life. Your drive to want to accomplish things. Nobody could take that away no matter what. And you were trying, I'm interpreting it as, I'm not, you said nobody could ever take that away from you. Nobody can. Only you could take it away from yourself. You could snuff your own light out by believing the shit in your head, or believing the stuff that people do to you, and the reactions that are going to come. Well, this person said this about me. No, they wrote this on the Facebook page about our show. Oh my God. Now I'm snuffing that guy didn't snuff my light out by saying he didn't like me, or he didn't like my book, or he didn't like my show. Right? I'm talking about me personally now. That guy didn't snuff my light out. I snuffed my own candle out by going, yeah, he's right. Shit. What can I change? Oh, no. I snuffed my own light out by doing that, not that person. Once you give control to that person, you have relinquished any control over your own being anymore. You're saying what you say, what you do means more than what I actually believe, right? I give Sadhguru once, he was speaking about anger, and he goes, I don't give anybody the right to steal. Like me getting angry, I'm giving you permission to steal my peace. And he says, nobody has that permission. He goes, that's mine. I only get to steal my own peace. You can't steal my peace no matter what you do. And it's that if I'm going to get angry and pissed and upset, that person didn't do, I don't care what it is, that person didn't do it to you. That person did something to you. But you chose to allow that person to snuff it, take it. And what do they say? Live rent free? The kids, I'm rent free. It means they're in your head, right? They're rent free.
Yeah.
You're allowing that. I know we kind of went off of fear a little bit, but it's, I mean, that's the interpretation I got. If I'm wrong, by all means, tell me, John, you're off base. Shut up.
No. That's pretty good. Just that I just used it as an example. The flame. Don't let your flame, die out.
I tend to look into things. I'm sorry.
That's all. No, it's all right. He's nuts. That's fine.
I can't help it. The voices in my head tell me I gotta say it. I gotta say
That's good. And you know what? In that particular instance, for my son, it was when he had his knee, knee operation.
That's tough,
so
man.
his
Yeah,
knee
sure.
blew out, and so his life as he knew it. But of course, obviously, story got better and everything's fine. But
Yeah, he overcame that.
at the moment, it's that you just don't want to let anybody snuff that flame of yours, because that's kind of why we do this, is to kind of help us out, empower us, and really, because this whole experience is wacky. The whole human experience is wacky. We can't explain anything. We don't know what's going on here, and this really is a good lens or a good filter to put on life as it works, or as it helps. Let's say it's very helpful, because you were talking about before, and you were saying about how fear, and if the input comes in, and if you're not equipped with some sort of mindfulness or some sort of filter that's going to help you. I went through a very tough, what you were saying before about, it's like you have 3 kids and you're about to leave your job. I did that. I did exactly that. and I can't tell you, it's very tough to do without mindfulness.
Sure. Yeah, but of
And it
course.
broke. What that was one of those decisions that really, really, really like hurt me. They scarred me. But we're here. You know,
Okay.
go ahead, critique.
No, nope, not gonna say. No. I just
I told you
so
he's not.
when people no when people I get so I see here's why, because I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm listening to you. I'm not judging what you're saying. I'm listening to you, and I get insights as I hear somebody talk. Right, and these insights will come in and go, okay, but not. It has nothing to do with the decision you made. I'm like, oh, you're a fucking idiot. You should have done that. You should have done this. No, that's a person who doesn't listen to you. That's a person who just wants you to stop talking so they could talk. And I got to tell you what I think. It's. I hear what you're saying, and I just kind of get little insights about it. That's it. So, I mean, when you said leaving your job, that's. I honestly forgot now where I was going with this because I wanted to explain why I had this insight.
Well, I said something. I said something that
Yeah, it triggered me.
yeah triggered
Yeah, it triggered
something,
some. Yeah. I had the little light, the little light of consciousness
and
popped
I'm
into
trying
my
to
head,
I'm
and I
trying
was
to I'm
like,
trying to
"Well, are you really?" Yeah, I don't remember what it was now.
I'm trying to pick it up again.
I'm so present in life sometimes that I forget from moment to moment what I was going to literally because I'll focus on the next thing I'm talking about, and okay, that wasn't so important anymore. Yeah, I don't remember.
It wasn't
I'm sure
important.
it had something. I'm sure it had something to do with.
I said it scarred me. Like maybe it scarred me. I said
What?
maybe that.
Oh, leaving your job scarred you?
Yeah, no. The decision, the situation,
Yeah,
the pressure.
the decision scarred you. Yeah, no, that wasn't it. I can't
No,
think of. No. Maybe it'll come to me. But listen, it's at the end of the day, it's always that little bit of awareness, that presence that we have in our lives goes a long frigging way. It really, really
yeah,
will. And the only way you get there is by practicing it. So a lot of times I might and maybe the way I speak sometimes I make it sound easy. And some spiritual teachers will sometimes because they're in this place where it feels easy at times, right? And at times it doesn't, but it feels easier at times just to be this. So we make it sound a little bit nonchalant, like Eckhart Tolle. He'll say things and it just sounds so seamless and easy. And there are people like, what the fuck are you talking about? How do I get there? What do you mean watch my mind? What are you talking about? My mind says jump. I say fucking how high? All right, let's go. So I know I make it sound easy, but with practice, like you said before, right? You don't get there. It's not day one. Day one, you make that first against the grain decision where your mind's trying to hold you back from something or not making you do something you want to value. And then you parlay that into a second one and parlay that into a third. And all of a sudden, like we said before, all of a sudden a new highway opens up and it's a little bit easier to see that fearful thought. But as you're passing on the highway like this, all right, there it is. But I'm going to go that way anyway. Right? Instead of being behind it in traffic, like until he moves, I can't move. I'm stuck behind him the whole time. So no, I think this was uh, a great topic to speak about today. I
yeah.
really, really do. That's why I like to listen to different people and different teachers, and I even listen to different podcasts because I love to hear the topics that people talk about. And it could not be something that about mindfulness, like the conscious business owner that we were kind of speaking about last week. I was listening to another podcast. I actually listen to once in a while. It's more business oriented, but they were talking about something about they didn't even know they touched on it about mindfulness. And they were talking about like making these conscious decisions. And that's where I was kind of like, well, all right, hold on a second. And I just started thinking, wow, being a conscious business owner, how does that mindfulness come into that? And then we started talking about like you last week when you had to make the decision that you had to make and how you were ruminating after it. And we kind of explained that, well, if you make it from a conscious place, there's really no rumination anymore because it was not from a place of fear. It was from a place of this is the best thing to do. So yeah, you know, just good stuff, man. I love this. I wish I could just tap it and give it to people like all the time. And there's no downside to this, but shit still does happen in life that is annoying. So like, don't ever get the impression, no matter how I'm speaking or how we're speaking on this show, that like, hunky dory. No, that's not what it's about. It's about trying to make it as hunky dory as you can when the shit is actually flying through the fucking fan and going all over the house, right? And that's really, I mean, that's a graphic example, but I think it kind of works.
Well, it's going to segue into your next segment, which is a guided meditation.
Oh, yes.
But I have a story that's going to segue into it.
Okay.
You know, do you know the that employee I was talking about, the girl that works with us? I saw the look in her eye when it clicked when I said, we also do a guided meditation. And whatever you used to do before, have you ever meditated? And she says, yeah, I've tried in the past. And then, the typical, let's say the usual answer. And then I said, well, my friend walks you through a guided meditation every single episode. And, he really taught me about, watching the thought enter, and kind of like a cloud, it just keeps moving, and watch the thought keep moving. Because if I say to you, blank your mind, don't think about anything. Well, right?
luck.
That's right. And that's usually what you're supposed to do. But you arrive there. And then, like, you can see the look in her eye go, oh.
That's a great way. That's a great way to explain it. Actually, it's a very good way to explain it. Absolutely.
And you see, look at her, and then I'm like, and then I'll give you my own personal tip. My own personal tip is just that I concentrate a lot on the air that I'm taking in.
Yeah, you visualize it.
Many times, I see the air, and I'm seeing the air, go in, whatever, But that thought is no longer. It's gone. It's past.
Yeah, and you didn't resist it. You allowed it to pass by doing that. Yeah.
And for many moments, many connected moments, there's nothing going on here. For many connected moments, which is good.
Nice. It's very nice.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, there's still nothing going on.
It's not. Listen, there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay. Sometimes when the mind is blank, I tell people. I always try to tell, like, if talking to my kids or my wife or a friend or anything, and the mind is blank, I enjoy it. Don't question why you're not thinking of anything right now.
Yeah.
I mean, as we're speaking, we're thinking of something, obviously, but like when your mind is blank and you're in that moment where you just feel serene and quiet, don't run to look for something to do. Enjoy it. Enjoy that. Enjoy that presence. When it comes out, enjoy. Like you had that moment when you were walking in Chicago a couple of weeks ago, right? Where you said all of a sudden this light, airy feeling came. And I said, yeah, I go, that was a portal into presence. That's the fruits of doing the work. Like those moments come, even in the shittiest of times, those moments start to come up, and they start to come up a little bit more often because you're anchoring yourself in what is, and not what can be and what was. So on that note, we will do our normal usual way to close out the show. Little guided breathing exercise and GM. Oh, guided meditation. It took me a second to think of that. Yeah, I know. What are you gonna do? You gotta love me for who I am. You gotta love me for who I am.
Stay off drugs, boys and girls.
That's the funny part, is I never did any.
Nothing going on.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Okay. Anyway,
start taking drugs, boys and girls.
Okay. So thank you, everybody, for listening to the show, and let's see if we can slowly and surely slow our mind stream down. Right? It's not about losing the thoughts, forgetting the thoughts, stopping the thoughts. It's about watching the thoughts. So, however you're seated, if you're seated, if you're standing, if you're walking, wherever you are, just bring your focus to your breath. It's a good way to always start, and just start taking some slow, deep breaths. Like I said, I like the 2-3 second range, but you could go 4 to 5 if you're more comfortable with that. It's really a personal preference. There is no right, wrong answer to any of this, the process of doing it. So let's start taking some deep breaths on the inhale, then hold, and then let's exhale. Now, as you continue doing that in the beginning, I like to start to watch the mind as I'm focusing on my breath. If any thoughts come in and start to pull your focus away, watch that thought, bring your focus back. So that's the watching of the thoughts. You're not pushing the thought away, you're not answering it, you're shifting your focus back to where you want it. And that's how we strengthen that watcher, that seeing, that presence where we get to watch our mind work instead of being its slave. After taking some breaths, if you want to shift your focus, at that point you can. If you want to stay in the breath the whole time, guys, feel free to. You don't have to do the body focus stuff that I do, or listening to the sounds around you. If you want to stay with the breath as we continue doing this, stay with the breath. You don't have to move off of it. But if you would like, you can bring your attention to your body parts. Do a body scan, feeling your feet. If you're seated, feeling the chair under your thighs and just noticing it. Remember, we're not labeling it, we're not judging it, we're not describing it, we're just noticing the feeling, noticing a tension, noticing even a pain in the body if it's there, and bring our attention to it, but not judge it or label it. Then shift your focus somewhere else, whether it's your forehead. If you're crinkling your forehead, we hold tension there, like we always said, we hold tension in our jaw. A lot of times we're clenching our jaw without even realizing it. Or our shoulders. Like you just notice if you watch this, I just lowered my shoulders as it said that. So you could do that. And that's all great ways to just shift your focus where you want it. If you want to shift your focus to something you're hearing, listening to a sound, noticing that sound. The whole time our breathing continues. As Michael Acosta said a couple of weeks back, it's the first thing we do when we enter the world and the last thing we do on the way out. So it is a great portal of presence, the breath. Let's take a couple of more. You could slowly open your eyes. If you're feeling more relaxed, that's great. If your mind is still running 1,000,000 miles an hour, that's great. As long as you were watching it the whole time, that's the money shot. I don't know. Anything else?
El Rapo Uppo.
El Rapo Uppo. All right. So on that, guys, thank you very much. And we will see you guys next week.
Been a pleasure. Thank you.
All right.
How do you do it?
I don't know. I don't believe the disclaimer. It's okay. The insights and discussions that we speak about on our show Camera off. Are our own opinions and based on our life experiences. If you or someone in your family or someone you know is suffering and in need of help, please get them that help through medical attention or seeking proper therapy. Again, what we speak about are based on our experiences and not intended to be taken as a form of therapy. Thank you.